Hi, my Capricorn risings. If you are new here, I am the Tarot Dragon, and on this channel, I do tarot card readings whenever I feel called to do them. And in today's reading, we are going to be looking at what is next in your love life in the near future. So basically how this is going to work is we're going to quickly take a look at your energy at the time that you're finding this reading, just to help you see whether this reading is actually for you. And then we're going to move on into seeing like what's actually coming next for you in love. And then we're going to finish off with some more details as well as advice. So if that sounds interesting to you and you do have a Capricorn rising, then continue watching. If you're interested but don't have a Capricorn rising, you must leave. I'm just kidding. You can stay if you want to, but it would make more sense if you went to my channel and found the reading for your rising sign. All of them should be posted by the time that this one goes up, but you know, we will see. Sometimes posting on YouTube can take a second. So yeah, so we'll just get right into the reading. And I do want to say thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited to get into this, as this tends to be a topic people want to know about. And as we're going through the reading, if you find anything that doesn't resonate with you, just leave it. If it's meant for you, you'll know. So to start, we're going to take a look at how your energy is being represented. For that, we have the healer. Wow. The light attributes are passion to serve others by repairing the body, mind, and spirit, ability to help transform pain into healing. The shadow is taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. And then we're going to get a few tarot cards to clarify my... This tarot deck is so funny. It feels like paper. Like, it's the thinnest cards that I have. See, it's literally like shuffling index cards. Thinner than index cards. But okay. Spirit. How else are Capricorn risings being represented at the time that they're finding this reading? How would you describe their energy and their attitude toward love at the time that you're finding this? We have the Seven of Swords. How would you describe Capricorn rising's approach to love? Okay. The Lovers, holy. Okay. Wow. Okay. So with the Lovers here, the sign of Gemini could be significant to you. Interesting. So I'm going to read you the keywords. This is the only deck I have that has keywords. So for the Seven of Swords, we have plans, hopes, wish card, highest minor arcana. I don't know what that means. Highest minor arcana. I've never heard that for the Seven of Swords. The Lovers is love affairs, romance building again within marriage, relationship, relatives, loving relationship you could share with a friend. So what I think your current approach is to love is, I feel like you're kind of stuck in this weird place where you find yourself giving a lot of love, a lot of energy, and in particular, a lot of like healing, supportive, caring energy, but I don't feel like you're receiving it. And or even if you are receiving it, I think that the love you're giving out, you're doing at your own expense. This is giving me the feeling of somebody who is a bit of a people pleaser, sorry if there's a glare here also. It's just the lights, and maybe I'll move it down if there is a glare. And if I made it worse, I'm so sorry. But I feel like you sometimes struggle to give from a place of fullness. You might find yourself feeling like you need to share your resources, you need to be available, you need to be caring because that's the right thing to do. But I think sometimes, even when you're depleted, even when you're struggling on your own, you feel this need to do the most for other people. And I think at your core, you are a very loving person. I think you just love other people more than you love yourself. And that's part of the problem here, is that because you don't love yourself as much, you're not willing to set boundaries and to protect yourself when you need extra time to heal or cope on your own. Does that make sense? I feel like there's an innocence with you with all this white clothing. I guess this is kind of like a pink color. It kind of reminds me of like strawberry ice cream with like the little specks of strawberry. There might be a lot of innocence here. Like you might be, like maybe you're in a relationship and it's your first relationship, or maybe there's just like this innocent, playful energy to you. For some reason, I feel like you could have Aries placements, or maybe Gemini. Gemini is known to have like this kind of innocent feel to it. But there's like this sweetness to you where I think you just want to be supportive, but you don't really know how to support yourself at the same time. It's like you give because you think that that's what love is, but when you need someone to pour into you, or when you need to pour into yourself, it's like you really struggle to do that. And I think ultimately what you want is a reciprocal relationship. I think you really desire that, but it seems like specifically when it comes to maybe emotional stuff, you don't know how to receive and you don't know how to give it to yourself. You might be very willing to have somebody buy your meals, like buy you dinner, or you might be very willing, for someone to give you a ride somewhere. But if you needed to vent to somebody, you would have a hard time doing that, especially if they're also going through something. But even when you're going through something, you make yourself available to others. It's this really interesting thing where when it comes to your emotional space and your mental space, you have a really hard time letting people in because it's like, no, I'm the healer. I'm the one who's supposed to help you. You're not supposed to help me type of thing. What's interesting is as I'm saying this all, I feel very detached from this. Like I don't actually, like sometimes when I give kind of heavier readings, it feels like I really feel it. But with you, it's almost this light, airy energy. Perhaps this isn't bothering you as much as I'm saying. Like maybe you really don't mind the fact that you don't talk to people about your emotions. Like maybe you don't mind being there for everybody else. Even though that's what you really want, deep down I think you crave it. At the same time, I don't think it's currently your biggest concern within love and relationships. Maybe because of all this innocence here, maybe there's this feeling of like, oh, well, like my friends just don't know that I'm going through something. If they did know, they probably would be supportive. Or maybe it's this feeling of like, oh, it's like puppy dog love almost, where it's like, oh, but I love them so much, it's okay. Like there's this feeling that I don't know, it might, for some of you, like you very much could be bothered by this, especially with the Seven of Swords. You could feel like you're being betrayed, or maybe that you're even betraying others. But I think I just sort of feel like for a lot of you, it's not your biggest concern in relationships at this time. But let's see what's coming next for you. I'm going to put these two cards back. So what's coming next for you in love? So for how you're being represented in this next phase of your love life is the Father. Talent for creating and supporting life, positive guiding light within a tribal unit. The Shadow is dictatorial control, abusive authority. As I'm seeing this card, I wonder if the innocence that I was sensing was children. Like perhaps you're a parent, and that's why you sort of have this feeling of like, oh, well, what I'm going through, I can't talk to them about it. Maybe it's because these are your children we're talking about. Like maybe the love is your family. And so it's like, oh, my 5-year-old doesn't need to know about all the stress I'm experiencing at work like they're 5. Maybe it's that kind of thing. Because I did sense this feeling of like, okay, like I gotta be supportive and I have to be the bigger person here, but like that's fine type of thing. So it would make a lot of sense if this is a parent-child relationship. But for some of you, I do feel like it also could be like a romantic relationship. But what else is coming next? We have Awakening. Wow. Energetic upgrades, a new way of being, integration. You guys got 2 of these cards. So the Crumbling, what are you clinging on to? Holy. Okay. We have Mindful, Groupthink. Wow. Angel of Strength. Damn, you have some really powerful cards. And Ghost of the Pumpkin Patch, Count Your Blessings. As soon as I saw this, I thought of the song Ghost by Justin Bieber. Anyway, funny you also have the Father, because Capricorn is known as like, it is associated with the archetype of the father. So that's really interesting because you guys are Capricorn risings. Wow. So what is coming next for you in love? Well, I do think that your complete attitude toward love is being altered, greatly so. And part of me feels like it's because you are being forced to grow, either because you have children, you're about to have children, or maybe in general, there's this feeling of like, you can't keep living like this. Now, you'll know which one is for you, but also maybe not, because this could be any time in the future, really, especially with this clock here. I get this feeling like time is ticking, but also like it really could be any time period. But I want to start with this Mindful card and the fact that we have the Crumbling. This card, and even if you look at it, you can see it's quite chaotic. There's a lot going on. You have this key, a flower, a cake with an animal here. You have this tower, a tree, sun, cloud, like umbrella, like all this stuff. And on the bottom, there's this little person. And, oh, and there's a keyhole right there on the stone. And there's a merry-go-round. Like, it's very, very chaotic. And it makes sense because the card talks about how, oh, in the 40, interesting. It talks about how your mind is, it's kind of full of so many different thoughts and ideas and expectations and different, what is the word that I'm looking for? Like, you know how when you go on TikTok or social media, you'll see people giving so many different kinds of advice, but it's like sometimes the advice contradicts one another, so you don't know which approach to take. I think you have this mindset toward your love life where you don't know what's right and what's wrong for you. I think you struggle to determine when you should put your pride first and your own ego, your own needs, and when you need to set your needs aside in order to be there for someone else. I think you struggle to figure out that middle ground because there's so many different opinions and attitudes that are controlling you. And with the fact that we have groupthink here, I think in particular, the people that you spend time around and the media that you consume, you're really calling into question because you realize that you might be doing things not because you actually agree with them, but simply because everybody else around you is doing it. And so you have made yourself think that that's the right way to do it. And there's nothing wrong with that, but I think you're gaining awareness that the way you were living your life, the approach that you did take, is not really for you. And actually with this clock, this is kind of making me think now of well, it's kind of random, but it made me think of wow, like time, but specifically your timeline, your like, you know, people say like, oh, you need to start having kids by this certain age. Like, you can't wait too long or you can't be too young. Like, you have to do it now, you know, time is ticking. And maybe that was your mentality for a long time, but now you're thinking, oh, well, maybe that's not what I want. In general, what's happening in your love life is there's a massive shift here. Before we get into this further, I want specifics now because I know I can see that there's a complete radical change in how you view love. And it's a shift. There's a lot you're letting go of, and there's a lot you're opening up to. And it's grave. And you know what? For some of you, you might have a child already, right? And this child is the reason why you're changing your approach to love, you're changing your approach to relationships, because you want to give them, like, you might be a single parent specifically, but you're realizing that the way you're living your life might be setting them up for failure, or it might be hurting them, or, you know, maybe limiting them. The fact that this child is sitting in the dad's lap and is looking up at the sky, and we have this person like levitating, and then you have the crumbling here. I really feel like you're changing things up because you want your child to have more opportunities. You want them to be more, like, you want to expand their options and show them like how beautiful life can be, essentially. And I think that one thing that might be hard for you with Ghost of the Pumpkin Patch, Count Your Blessings, and the fact that it's a number 1, it's making me think of the first house, which is all about the identity. Oh, well, you have a Capricorn rising, so that's what you would have in your first house, is the sign of Capricorn. But in particular, yeah. So what I was going to say is that your own, like, this is very specific, but your own childhood trauma could be either limiting you or causing friction between you and your growth. Because and this could have to do something with your father figure in particular. Maybe the way that your father treated you when you were a child could be impacting how you choose to raise your kids now. But I feel like there's stuff from your past that kind of lingers that is informing the way that you raise your child. Sometimes in good ways, sometimes in bad ways. And the bad ways are what you're wanting to move away from. Because just because everybody around you did it, or everyone in your parents' generation did it that way, doesn't mean that you want to do it that way too. And what is clear to me is that this is not no damn easy shift, okay? So if this next phase of your love life is hard, like, you're not wrong for that. You're not wrong for feeling that way, because it is hard. With Angel of Strength, though, you definitely can get through this, and I think you're being very supported in your healing and in your growth. Because how you are up-leveling is not like a simple just shift in your mindset. It's like deep healing that you're going to be undergoing. And it's going to force you to let go of a lot of stuff that just no longer has any place in your life. And I think it's triggering because childhood wounds could be triggered, or like it's hard for you because your childhood wounds could be triggered. But I also think that your identity, like your ego, is being bruised because we have this number 1, which is like the first house, but we have the number 5 or 50 here, but reduce this to a 5. And 5 is a sign of Leo. And Leo is a very much like a prideful energy. And even this lion here makes me think of being like the at the top of the food chain. Like, maybe that's what you're unlearning is, maybe you were taught that, like, the parent is the head of the household, kids don't know anything, like, you need to force them into the box that you've created for them. Like, they're not allowed to have opinions or interests that are outside of what you think are okay. And maybe that's what you're unlearning. Maybe you're wanting to see your child as a separate human, not as like your mini you. Do you know what I mean? I think you're wanting to be less controlling of your child and more of a guiding, loving presence. And the reason why it's so hard is because you probably didn't receive that in your youth. And so you're having to really like fight your own urge, like your own triggers, but you're also expanding. It's very complicated, but I want to see specific, Spirit. What specifically is our Capricorn risings going to be unlearning in this period with this like mindful card, the crumbling? What specifically are Capricorn risings letting go of in this next phase? The Five of Pentacles, delays around money coming in from the cold. What specifically are five of Capricorn risings unlearning in this next phase? The Six of Cups. Wow. Wow. Okay, we're going to take all three of those. Back of the deck again, we have the Lovers, and then followed by Temperance. So Gemini energy could really be significant, which again is making me think of that twin energy, like your mini you. You're wanting to see your child as a separate person, not like in the sense of like, oh, you're not going to raise them or you're not going to care about them, but rather you recognize that it's okay if they don't like the same things you like, or it's okay if they aren't your exact carbon copy. We also have the Eight of Cups, Ace of Wands, and the Tower. Yeah, are you kidding? The Tower, this is very spot on. This is also associated with Mars, so Aries and Scorpio could also be significant. Okay, so what specifically you're unlearning? I think you're unlearning, for one, this idea that like love has to be rooted in suffering in some way, or that you have to suffer first or earn somebody's love. And I can see how this is related to your energy in the current moment, because you, maybe deep down, the reason why you're so willing to help others without receiving is because you feel like that's what love is like just being completely selfless all the time. But I think what you're recognizing is that if the only way you can create happy memories for your child, or to create a beautiful childhood for your kid, is to destroy yourself, like that lifestyle is unsustainable. Eventually, you might start to resent your child, or you might start to be very deeply unhappy with where your life is headed. I think you're recognizing that, like, in order to be a good parent, you have to be healthy yourself. And I know that that's kind of like a very privileged thing to say or to experience, because like not everybody has the privilege to, stay with their kid during the first 6 months of their life. You know what I mean? Not everybody has the privilege to only work one job. Not everybody has the privilege to seek out mental health services to cope with your own trauma in order to be more present with your child. Like, not everybody has those opportunities. And perhaps that's another layer to this challenge, because with the Five of Pentacles, this is a card that can talk about a lack of money, and we also have money problems right here. And we have catastrophe, accident, things happening very quickly at lightning pace with the Tower. Like, it's possible that like there's really maybe a lot happening at once. The lightning could be significant. The symbolism of lightning or literal lightning could be a significant sign for you. But it's like you want to be like a good parent is what this is about. You really want to be a good parent, but you're struggling to see where the line is between being selfless and being self-sabotaging. You're struggling to see the difference between being protective and controlling, the difference between being encouraging versus like forcing your child to do certain things a certain way. There's this grave feeling of like, you see yourself in your child, right? One, because they're your child, but also because you probably see your childhood self in your child. And I think you're wanting really badly to not repeat mistakes that were made in your own childhood, but it's hard because it's your childhood. Like, there's trauma there, most likely. Because this feels very, like, now that we're getting into this, it feels really heavy. And at the core of all of this, you are, like, I can see clearly that you are walking away. You are healing. That's not, there's no question about that. And you're really opening yourself up to more, one, confidence in your ability to parent. Like, you're becoming more confident that you're doing a good job. But I think that you're also, you are creating happier memories for your child than you did in the past. And the healing that you're doing is really, really helping. One of the biggest concerns I think that would happen here, especially material concerns, is money. I think you might have a period where like money is really tight for you, and perhaps that's what's causing all of this. It could be like a random accident, or randomly like uh your job cuts your pay or something like that. I hope that's not the case, but you know, that happens to people, right, in life. It's possible that that could be what's really causing all of this, is that there's a financial issue. And that's testing your, I think it is testing your patience, but I think it's also like it's really highlighting these issues more for you, because you want to provide, you want to protect your child, you want to be a good parent, but because money is an issue, it feels like you're unable to give your kid the attention that you want to give them, because you're more focused on the immediate financial issues that you're experiencing. And so it's hard because you feel like, maybe for example, you know, you can't talk to your kid and be like, oh, I just lost my job. Like, you can't really communicate that to them. And maybe you just simply don't want to, because you don't want them to stress out. But it's like you're struggling and you're trying hard to create this beautiful a space for your child, but it's hard because it's almost like, you know, you're in two different worlds. Like, your kid doesn't really understand taxes or bills, most likely, unless they're like a teenager. But most kids do, like 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, they don't know. Maybe your kid is like an infant, or like 1 or 2. Maybe they're a toddler. But it seems like there's a lot that you're growing from and unlearning, because you're like, it's hard because there's this material issue of potential money problems. I don't know if the money problems are for all of you, but I see so many cards about that. So I think that that's definitely a concern for some of you. And for others, I really feel like you're unlearning parenting skills, or like different approaches to discipline, different approaches to like your kid having interests that you don't really understand. I think that you're really having to expand your perception on what a parent is and what a parent does, but it's hard because it's triggering yourself. It's triggering you and your own wounds. But again, what I see is growth, like massive growth. I think you're going to grow so much in this process, and you're healing, because I think that this kid is really, like, really, really matters to you, of course. Well, not of course, not every parent really cares about their kids, but I think you definitely do, and you are committed to creating a healthy space for your child, which is amazing. And all the work that you're doing is definitely paying off. Like, it is going to pay off, and it is paying off. And perhaps too, like for some of you, I'm not gonna lie, this could be the opposite end, where maybe you care more about your job or your work than creating emotional security for your child. Because with Count Your Blessings and Mindful, like maybe you have a lot of the people around you are very much work oriented. Like they have the money to send their kid to daycare, and so they don't have to, like, maybe there's like a lot of things they do to make sure that they can make more money, but you know what I mean, like where their kids are still taken care of, but they're not the ones cultivating that space for their child. It's like a nanny who's doing it, or somebody at a daycare, which, you know, nothing wrong with that as long as the nannies and the daycare people are good people. But maybe that's something that you're feeling like you don't want to do anymore either. Maybe you're wanting to spend more time with your child. Yeah, money seems like a big thing here, and like work feels like a big thing here, as well as creating emotional stability. Yeah. Is there anything else you want to say? Anything else you want to say? This reading feels so short. Is there anything else you want to say, Spirit, about what's coming next in love? The Ace of Cups. Wow. The Ace of Cups. Security, helping hand. Okay. What else? The Hierophant. Marriage, government or public company, body, corporate, official building, or official situation. One more card, Spirit. What else is coming next in love for Capricorn risings? The Six of Swords. Boat or overwater travel, turning turning boat out of troubled waters into calmer waters. On the back of the deck, we have the Seven of Swords. So we keep ending with that card that we had in the beginning. Earlier, we had the Lovers. Now we're having the Seven of Swords. So with the Hierophant, this is associated with the sign of Taurus. So what's coming next? Just some final messages. For some of you, if you are thinking of like applying for some sort of government assistance program, you should definitely go for it with the Hierophant here and the Ace of Cups. Honestly, with the Six of Swords too, I think that having like extra support or extra money would be really useful for you. Maybe I don't know where you live and what programs are available where you live, but like where I live, there's like, you can get food stamps to pay for food. You can apply for like subsidized housing. You can get free or reduced lunches at school, unemployment checks. Like there are different things that you can do. You can get paid family or medical leave. So if your child is an infant and you want to spend time with your child, maybe apply for paid family or medical leave. But again, it depends where you're from. I know not every place has government assistance available, but if that's what you want, you should definitely apply and go for it. There's no shame in that. And perhaps that's one thing that you're unlearning, is that there's something wrong with asking for help. See, this is so nuanced, because there's so many layers to this healer energy, because being a healer is not a bad thing at all. But there are so many reasons why, and so many ways this energy could become more of a hindrance. Like it could be anything from like your interpersonal relationships where you self-sabotage and you don't set boundaries, but it also could be like in this case, maybe there's people around you who encourage you to not seek out government assistance, or to not communicate with your boss and ask for a day off, or maybe like you don't use your vacation time or your sick hours because you feel like that's a bad thing to do. Like this is very interesting, because I feel like for some of you, it's the way that you self-sabotage is a personal thing, but for others it could be more of a larger scale issue for you. These two cards together do also sound like marriage. So maybe getting married is one thing that you're really wanting. And in fact, if you already have a kid, I could see even more strongly why maybe you want to get married. Perhaps you're marrying the person you have the child with, or maybe this is about like revitalizing the love and the excitement between you and your partner. And if this is a situation where you and your partner are divorced, it could be that you're like maybe wanting to build at least a more cordial relationship in order to make your child happier. There's this feeling of like you are putting your child's needs above your own, and you're either pushing back against your pride in order to help them, or you are wanting to heal in order to create a more stable life for them. And with the Six of Swords here too, again, this just confirms that what's happening is a complete shift in your mindset, a complete shift in your plans and in how you are approaching your relationship with your child. And so if you don't have a child, by the way, this probably isn't your reading. There was another reading where it felt very much like it was about a parent and a child. So if you don't have a kid, you can still take the reading if it feels right to you, but I feel like this is for people who have a child. But with the Six of Swords, there's a shift. There's a big shift in your perspective around love, around being a parent, around what your role is. And this is really beautiful, because it seems like once this process is over, your life will be completely transformed, and you're going to be so much more comfortable with yourself as a parent. But I think that the love you share with your child is going to be so much more genuine and so much more whole and felt on both ends. Felt like your child will feel the love and you'll feel the love, which is beautiful. I want to get one card to see, Spirit. What is the final result of this for Capricorn risings? What is the results of this healing process? What is the final result, Spirit guides? Can I get one card to get? What is the final result of this process? The Three of Pentacles. Improvements underway, but delays around it. Renown, glory, place of worship. So you are my... I don't know the exact lyric, but that place of worship is making me think of the song Melting by Kali Uchis. But Three of Pentacles. So yeah, oh wow, the phrase like it takes a village to raise a child is coming through. But with this Three of Pentacles, I think one thing that's happening is you're developing a really strong support system for you as well as for your child. So in terms of your child, the first thing that popped into my mind when I saw this was it brought me back to that situation with the divorced parents. Maybe there's a situation where like you have joint custody, right? But you don't live together. So maybe you're building a stronger relationship with your ex-partner in order to, so that like it's not awkward for your kid when they're, you know, going to stay with their parents for 1 week or something, or their other parent for 1 week. You know what I mean? There's this feeling of like you are working to create more stability and safety for your child. This could also be, you know, maybe reaching out to the child's school, or reaching out to like literally anything with the Three of Pentacles. It could be any kind of support system, any kind of organization or agency or person that can assist you in some way, because I think you're recognizing that you don't have to know everything about every topic in order to be a good parent. Like most parents aren't doctors, you know what I mean? Like most parents have another doctor treat their child. So it's the same is true with like other things as well. Like if you don't have the ability to really like if your child needs therapy, I think you're recognizing that like you having a sit down talk with them might not be what they need. Maybe they need that, but also to speak to a therapist, right? There's this feeling of like, I'm gonna reach out and get my child support because I don't have to do this alone. But I also think that the support is for you too. I think you're recognizing that if you need therapy, or if you need, you know, assistance getting a job, if you need time to yourself, like you deserve these things too. There's definitely like a stronger support system. And I think too with this card, with mindful groupthink, I think if there's people in your life that you felt like were taking up space, but they weren't really adding anything to your life, like they maybe were just taking from you or depleting you, I think there's boundaries being established between you and these people, because in order for this energy to be apparent in your life, you need to make space for it. And with this Eight of Cups, I already see that you're walking away, and the crumbling, I already see that you're walking away from things that don't serve you. That includes people. So this is a really beautiful energy. You're going to feel much more supported and much more connected to the people around you, to your life, to your child. This is a really, really good, safe energy here. Safe meaning not like, oh, like you're in your comfort zone, but safe as in stable and secure. Like you feel safe, you feel taken care of. Like this is a good energy. Oh, okay, so we're going to finish off with a piece of advice for you, or just one final message. Spirit, what final message do you want to give to Capricorn risings regarding this next phase of their love life? Spirit, what final piece of advice or guidance do you want to give to Capricorn risings regarding love? What final piece of advice you want to give to Capricorn risings? The Rhythm Maker with Tempo. So I don't know what the song is about, but the song Chained to the Rhythm by Katy Perry is popping into my head. Oh my. This is interesting. This is making me think that, and this is kind of confirming the message, but your advice is to not be afraid to make your own beat and march to that rhythm, essentially. You know how people say that the saying, march to the beat of your own drum? Like, I think you know, or you're starting to realize in this next phase that you were not marching to the beat of your own drum. You heard somebody else's music and you thought, okay, I should do that. Everybody else is marching to that beat. I should march to that beat too. But you're realizing that that wasn't really igniting you, that wasn't really satisfying you, and you're starting to march to the beat of your own drum. And this card, we're going to read the message in the book, but I know one thing it mentions is that, you know, your heartbeat is a beat, you know, like the beat doesn't have to be like literal music, you know, it could be that, maybe you need to dance or move your body, but you can connect to any sound, any idea, any way of being. If it resonates with you, then it resonates with you. And that's what you're realizing, is that what you thought resonated with you doesn't anymore, and you need to shift things. And as you shift them, you're creating much more stability for yourself. let's see what the message is in the book. Where is it? Oh, right here. You're feeling out of sync with the natural rhythms of your body and your surroundings. Being out of sync can create anxiety, confusion, and, in its extreme, disorientation. Pause for a few minutes, close your eyes, and allow your breathing to be at a natural pace. Step out of time and simply notice your heartbeat and your breathing. Notice how even ordinary physical movements, such as tapping your fingers, nodding your head, or walking carry with them innate rhythms. Experiment with drumming and dancing. You don't need a drum to create a drumming rhythm, and you don't need to be a professional to move to the beat of your favorite songs. Allow your body to express itself rhythmically through movement and sound, and notice how doing so can shift your feelings. Let go of your inhibitions and let the rhythm flow through you and express as you. As you let go, you'll enter into a different state of consciousness, one where the rhythm of your movement is moving you. Wow, beautiful. Where was it? I saw something about tapping, such as tapping your fingers. You might want to look into tapping. Oh, I don't remember the exact, like, overarching type of self-care psychological thing that it falls into, but, tapping, like, you can't really see it, but, like, butterfly taps or, like, tapping on your knees, it is a really good way to, ground yourself and to literally calm your nervous system. You should look it up. It's very safe, and it's a really nice way to calm yourself and to be more present. I recommend looking into it. It's a very simple way to ground yourself, and kind of indiscreet, because if you have your hands on your legs and you're just going at your own pace, you could do it faster too if you want, but you just, any pace that you want, whatever feels good. But yeah, so your advice is don't be afraid to stray from the norm. Don't be afraid to try new things. You know, it's okay. Not only is it okay, but you owe it to yourself. If you're not happy and you feel like your life is much more difficult than it needs to be, it's okay to do things differently. It really is. It's totally fine. It's challenging for sure. I'm not going to act like it's not hard. It can be really hard depending on what it is that you're straying from, but you deserve to give yourself that chance. And I know that you can do it for sure. So yeah, Capricorn risings, I am going to leave your reading here. Thank you so much for watching this reading and for sharing this space with me. If you enjoyed this reading, which I hope that you did, you can support me by leaving a like on this video, commenting down below, telling me how it resonated, or subscribing to my channel. Or if you don't want to do any of those things, that's okay too, but thank you so much to anybody who does. And if you want to see readings from me in the future, please feel free to, you know, come back to my channel, check me out, and if not, and this is the last time we see each other, thank you so much for being here, and I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye!